All right.
No, just hold it until someone calls.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Yeah, we in. Ready? We all ready?
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Hey, welcome back to Barbershop BA. This is episode 8.
Numero ocho for our Spanish viewers. There we go.
There you go.
That's
Yes.
racist.
We are going on the topic today of paycheck to paycheck.
Man, the grind.
But let's get some introductions in before we get started. My man over here to my far right.
B. Murphy.
Right here in the middle.
It's your boy Philip Morgan.
They call him the athlete.
You know, some would say.
Some would say
that.
Some will say Melmano.
Yeah.
And over here to your far left is your boy Larry Ewings, a.k.a. Jupiter
Actually,
7.
that's probably they far right, but don't worry about that.
Left. Okay, whatever.
Cameron,
Whatever.
Don't
However.
worry about that. Don't worry about it. You good. You good. My fault.
Basics.
It is what it is.
Whatever's provocative, y'all. That's what we're doing. So, hey, man. So, how you guys been feeling? How's everything going?
Man, I've been good. I've
Yeah?
been good. Can't complain.
Yeah, man. Another beautiful day in sunny California, living in the Bay.
That's right.
Struggling, striving, trying to survive.
True. You know what?
Just a squirrel trying to get a nut.
Wow.
Cold, hard work.
Wow.
Getting all the quotes in.
I am.
So, one thing I want to bring up is what's up with the Dubs, y'all? I'm so
boys.
frustrated.
Come on, man. It's
I'm
all rigged.
frustrated.
It's all rigged.
Is that what it is?
It's rigged.
It feels like something's wrong. Then it gets good for a second, and then all of a sudden it just falls all apart.
Well, that's what the drama's all about, right? There's so much. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think there's so much money for each game that they play that it's like it kind of works out that way, man.
I don't know, man. It's just really bothering me, man. I really thought this was gonna be a sweep, and I didn't really want to do 50 push-ups, y'all. Let's be honest.
That's right.
Now the truth comes out.
No.
Now
But the
truth
truth
comes
is,
out.
the Warriors are so much more better.
So much more.
And what
better.
is happening? What is happening to the
better.
like? I don't know, man. Like
Your physique's gonna be a lot more better when you do those 50 push-ups.
don't talk
They're
about
trying to
that,
get
yo.
Steph Curry is trying to get you in shape.
I know, man.
That's a
They're
beautiful
big
thing.
fans
Steph
of the
Curry.
show.
He's
They
a
said,
giver.
man, if we,
Giver.
Larry, we've tried everything else, but if we don't sweep, Larry's got to do pushes. We got to take one for they took one for the team.
Nah,
Man.
nah.
That's what happened. They took
Anything
one for
for
the
you.
team.
Your wife probably sent a message, and I'm trying to get some pecs on my man. Can you miss a few jumpers?
Wow. Y'all see this? I stay flexing daily.
Dang, can't nobody tell.
Get it, man. You looking good.
Yo,
man. You
when
looking
no
good.
one's looking, I'm flexing.
There we go. I like that, man.
Oh man,
That's funny. What do we got today, man? What are we talking about today?
So we're talking about the paycheck to paycheck, and let me kind of just let the viewing audience and the people who are listening via podcast let them know how we kind of came up with the subject. So I've been a part of this group for over the past year called On the Verge.
On the Verge.
It's a leadership training, and the way you kind of get a part of that is your organizations choose people to be a part of this training, and then throughout over a period of 12 months you get trained in leadership development, coaching, all that good stuff. And then within that time frame, basically what happens is that you, as a group, you get to choose a subject or a project to work on for the community. And a lot of us are working in the social service field, medical field, mental health, all of that good stuff, youth work, all of that.
A lot of public service.
A lot of public service.
Okay.
And so, but collectively, the topic that kind of like resonated with us was, because we all live in the Bay Area,
Yeah.
we're all kind of like in that same boat is, what about the problem with homelessness? But not just homelessness, but like, people like the what do you call it? The cost of living has gone up so much
Right.
that homelessness has actually skyrocketed.
Absolutely.
Because people have been losing their houses. If they got that bad loan deal, their house has been foreclosed, or their car got repo, whatever, all that stuff. Or now where people are living in people's garages, where people are living in couch surfing, or they're living house to house, they're living in motels, they're living inside their own car, right? They're living in shelters.
Man, it's crazy because over the years since I was a kid, you think of a homeless person, you think of someone panhandling on the street, living in rags and pushing a shopping cart. But I feel like that's a stigma
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, because all the examples you gave, if you're couch surfing, if you don't have a place to stay to call your own, are you technically homeless at that point? Living in your car, I mean that's homeless, right?
Yeah. That's
And
right.
so I mean there's different types. I feel like, you know what I mean. It's not just
Yeah, it's kind of hard to define, but at the same time, I would call that more like on the brink of homelessness, and that's kind of like the topic that we actually are going over with the group. We created this topic called on the verge of homelessness,
Okay.
and that could look like living in your car. It's almost like it, but
Right.
you're not on the street yet, but
Right.
you're about to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of different ways of how we get there.
Because those folks are, I mean, they work in full-time jobs.
Full-time
Trying
jobs.
their kids are in school.
Right,
and,
right.
and they look like their life is normal, and you would never know
Right.
Yeah.
what happens at 5 o'clock at night where they're going.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, to be honest, if you guys look up the stats, 3 out of 4 people are living at, 3 out of 4 folks are living paycheck to paycheck. So that means that if they don't get that paycheck, they are on the verge of being on the street or living in their car or wherever.
Or hungry.
Hungry.
Right.
Just,
Living
just yeah.
Step one, right? Man,
Right.
That's so crazy. So yeah, you said 3 out of 4 people. So yeah, right around 75% of Americans.
Right, and we're talking about, we haven't even talked about the debt problem, right? So 60 to 80% of folks are actually in debt, owe some
Yeah.
kind of money.
Absolutely.
And so that's contributing to the problem. Just to live in the Bay Area, just to make it here, I think they say it's 80. You have to have an income of $85,000.
Jeez.
Just to make it. Not only that, to live comfortably, you have to have at least $120,000.
Yeah. I mean, that's the new poverty line. I think poverty is hitting around 85K per household in the Bay Area.
Which is typically,
and that's crazy.
depending on where you live.
Where you live, that's good money.
I mean, that's real good money. You're
that's
middle
right.
class. You're
That's right.
middle upper class. But here in
Yeah.
the Bay Area, it's just not that way.
That's right.
And so you have to have that extra hustle. And I always say this to people. People say this about New York, but we say this about the Bay Area. If you can make it here, you
Yeah.
can make it anywhere.
right.
All right.
So it's crazy. So we talk about living paycheck to paycheck, and for some of our folks out there, or 75% of them,
Right.
they'll know what that looks like. But some people they might have forgotten. But it depends on where you're at in age, right? Age depends, or where you're at in your career. So I think we should all shed some light of what it's like to live paycheck, because we all been there, right?
Yeah.
Still there. So what does it look like for you back when living paycheck to paycheck? What were some of the struggles you had to deal with?
Yeah, man. I think you do. I was never at that point of being completely right on the brink of homelessness, right? But I certainly know what it's like to live in tight circumstances. First of all, you remember, you go to you talk about the debt, right? You remember you going, you finally got this little honey, you asked her out to dinner, and you going to the restaurant.
Yes.
Don't watch yourself. And the bill comes, and you give them that credit card, and it's 50-50, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what's about to happen. It's 50-50 on whether or not you're gonna be real embarrassed, or you got one more day to turn in that paycheck or
Right.
to pay that bill.
That's
man.
funny.
And I just remember living with the weight and the shame of that, right? Like I figure I can't take care of myself. I can't even really pay my normal bills. You got all the regular stuff about just regular day-to-day bills, and feeling like it's a struggle to carry the weight. Like, am I even going to be able to take care of myself, much less anybody else?
Yeah.
Because I'm barely making it. It's just a weight, and you feel ashamed about it. Truth be told.
Yeah.
You carry that around, and you feel ashamed.
Absolutely.
I felt ashamed.
Yeah.
No doubt. That's crazy.
What about you, man? Like those times when you felt like,
Yeah, the
Paycheck
paycheck
to
to
paycheck.
paycheck, that's a grind in itself. Just knowing, I mean, you have to realize, like, you have to know how many pennies you're spending
Right.
every time you go out. So living paycheck to paycheck, I know as far as rent goes, you know what I mean, that rent check gotta get paid every month no matter what.
Right.
So I mean, you're sacrificing a ton of stuff. Like, you know what? I only made X amount this paycheck, so looks like we're not going anywhere. We're not driving anywhere because gas is a certain price. Gas
Right.
prices are outrageous too. So
Crazy.
because the rent's gotta get paid, or you know what? You start sacrificing like how much you eat because rent's gotta get paid. I mean, that's that paycheck to paycheck grind. Like,
Yeah.
Those are some of the struggles where you're sacrificing all these other things to make sure that the place where you lay your head is still there at the end of the month. Or, I know all my folks out there living in the Bay Area know the struggle that when your rent lease is coming up, and man, how much are they gonna raise my rent that that's
It's like, yo, I was just paying $1,000. Now it's gonna be $1,500.
Right.
in
Really?
5 years, rent has
Really?
increased almost $1,000
Yeah, I know.
a month.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I mean that's part of the hustle. So what about you, Larry?
Man, you know what? To be honest, I felt like I've lived almost my whole. I mean, besides living when I lived on my own, when I moved to the Bay Area in 2001, like it was paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember because I luckily I had saved up before I even went to college, but I spent down that savings because I paid for my college. Then I worked at college as a youth director. That's how I got to live on campus. But the only way but that's all I could do. And so I spent down my savings until I had nothing left.
Right.
And then I worked just to have a roof over my head.
Yeah.
But that didn't count. That didn't account for all the food I needed to buy. So, but then getting married and all that, I just felt like. And being in, look, I have over 20 years of experience being in with urban youth work and doing things like that. And I've even to this day, I kind of feel like I've lived paycheck to paycheck. Every other year, I'm wondering, is that contract going to continue for another 2-3 years so I can continue to work with these programs? And that's just kind of like the universe I've lived in for the last 20 years. So I got some thick skin. But it's not easy, and you always have to readjust. You always have to rethink because I'm living in these 2 to 3 year timelines, and like I'm wondering how it's gonna work out.
Right.
And so
That's a tough thing, man.
yeah, man.
So you touched on it a little bit. Given that card, that credit card. Sometimes incurring debt is it's a temporary solution, but that is a long. I feel like it's a pitfall, right? Like if it's
right.
like let's compare it to a body injury, right? Like you had to sacrifice something, but you broke your femur, like a big bone that takes a long time to heal. Like you've got, if you put something on that credit card, if you want to buy, like, I'm gonna take her to dinner. Dinner costs $50 when you pay for it.
Right.
By the time you pay that sucker off, because you already hurting, you pay
About $3,000 for that cheeseburger.
Right. That was premium grade A, grass-fed, organic
Right.
beef that you paid for in the long run. So, to all of you, stay away from the debt, man. Stay away from incurring debt.
Yeah.
Because because you said what 60 to 80% of people are in debt.
Yeah.
If we didn't have those debt payments, I think that's how much more money you'd have in your pocket to go towards other things. So, we're not going to get too much into it, but just stay away from the credit card.
And that's a good way to look at it too. Is like, debt really hinders us from doing other things that, if you're a person that likes to give, debt does not allow you to give, right? I always think about what my parents did for me, how they paved the way for me, is that, lo and behold, to my knowledge, that as they were working, they were putting money in the savings account for me. So one day that I would get my life straight and go to college, that they could take care of that for me.
Right.
And that took a lot of hard work and sacrifice. And so that, for them to even take the time and budget and put that money aside, you know what I mean? Like, it's so important. So, like, but if they were in debt, they couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
They would have just been paycheck to paycheck, just barely surviving. But they clearly they sacrificed and they paved the way.
So instead of incurring debt, we talked about being on the brink of homelessness, and we've all experienced that paycheck to paycheck grind. So how do we respond in rough times if we're trying to stay away from debt and move forward? And how do we respond in these tough times? Like what are some suggestions that you might have, like just to I guess generate more income, right? I don't know what else. I mean, if you have family, you can borrow some money that way, low interest from a family member, or
yeah, I think it's difficult. When we're talking about being in debt or we're talking about being on that brink, there's all kinds of different ways that I think people can step up to the plate and try to ease the situation. Like, regardless, it's gonna be hard, right? And we really have to get to the point of, like, is this really important to me? What are the things that are important to me? Is a roof over my head important to me? Are my kids important to me? Is my well-being important to me? And we have to start looking at those things,
those priorities,
so we can actually start going forward. Like, I know we all came up with like maybe some top threes, right? That we want to talk about. B, which one? Talk about your top threes real quick and see, how that could potentially contribute to someone getting out of that situation.
Yeah, man, I want to break it down and make it real simple, right? Because we don't find ourselves often in these situations because of one bad thing. It's the little decisions we make every day that put us in this cycle that got us living on the verge and on the brink, right?
Yeah.
So when I think about it, to me, it's real. It's real day to day, right? We got this whole media, this whole kind of celebrity mindset that's always telling us that we got to keep up with the Joneses. I got to have the latest iPhone 9000. I need the newest J's. I need the best and greatest. I can be broke, but I'm gonna be fitted when I hit the club.
Yeah.
Not even gonna get into the fact that some of our short-term decisions and trying to have a good time cost us. I mean, you talked about the price of debt, but I mean, some folks I know that are caught in this cycle don't see that, just because I felt like I had to have the newest thing today cost me from saving for something. I mean, newsflash, your car is going to break down. You're going to get a flat tire.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go to the hospital at some point. And so we got to know these things are coming and make some long-term decisions and not always satisfy ourselves in the short term. That's my number one thing.
Got it.
Second thing I think is, again, trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to make sure that we always are looking like the hottest, latest fashion. I mean, I know you've talked about your love for hats, right? But
Yeah.
you can get the latest the first day it comes out, or you can pull back on some styles. I see ain't nothing wrong with Nordstrom Rack. I get all my shoes from Nordstrom Rack. I mean, so we gotta realize that if I'm not balling, if I'm not living at that level, I can't try to fake it because I'm hurting myself and my family.
Smart.
Last one is the reality is you got to have a budget. It's not fancy, it's not sexy, but there's no way that you can get $150 out of a $100 check.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And I see people that are saying, "Oh, you know what? I got some cash. That must mean I can spend it." But you got to have a plan, right? You're either doing one of two things, right? Either you're planning to fail or you're failing to plan.
Amen.
And that's just the reality, right? And a lot of people are just going through life. You can quote that. And not realizing that we got to manage our money and be proactive so that we can stay away from the brink that the world, the credit card companies, the media is trying to suck us into living above our means, and we'll find ourselves on the brink.
Encapsulating all of that, man, it's like be a beast with your money. You know what I mean?
Much.
You don't ball so out of control that now all of a sudden you in debt.
That's right.
You look like a baller, but but your bank account
Broke baller.
broken, empty.
Balling on a
spilling
budget. Right.
Yeah, man.
That's funny. If I'm gonna name or nail down my top three,
Yeah, what's your top three?
I'm gonna start with prioritizing. Right, you gotta prioritize top to bottom, and I think in order to do that, you gotta identify your wants versus your needs.
That's major.
I think I have this conversation with myself quite often, like, hey, do I want this or do I need this? And my imagination will think of a situation to where, Philip, you need this new knife because you might be in a situation one day where you might only have to grab one or two things, and if you have this, it'll be there in that area that you might be in. So you gotta
killer.
Right.
Right. You gotta fight those. You gotta fight those
You
things.
think about knives, damn.
Right,
Okay.
it is. Survival. So you really gotta.
I was thinking maybe you talk about maybe I don't know a nice grill or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like a grill to cook food on,
Right.
not the Go Grill,
Right.
but like a grill to cook on or something like that. You talking about knives?
I think a little bit
machetes.
different.
Okay,
A little
Jason.
bit different.
Rough streets of Newark.
Right. A little different, man.
Yeah, watch out out there, Philip Morgan, gangster.
So once you identify your wants versus your needs, you still got to prioritize it because you might not have the means to purchase all the stuff that you need
Right now.
right? So it's like, hey, I got this shirt. Yeah, it still works. It doesn't have any holes and it's getting thin, but I need to eat. So I'm going to pass on this, because if you're already budgeting, you're not spending a lavish amount of money. So $10 is all you should spend on shirts anyway. If you're on a budget, you got to take that $10 and stretch it out for food. Just prioritizing your needs.
That's good.
And last but not least, number 3 is think outside the box. I think we think about I need to get a second job or a third job. What does that look like? Time and this and that. Sometimes you think outside the box. You can still generate cash. Plastic bottles, aluminum. That's all recycled. I mean, that's old school. Like when I was younger, I used to collect that stuff.
I still do that too.
Yeah,
I do that today, man.
In the Morgan household, we recycle.
Right.
I mean, yes, for the environment, but we do it for the coin.
For shoes.
We do
Recycle for shoes.
We do it for the shoes. I mean, kids gotta have shoes, right? So,
I recycle and I put that money in my son's what do you call it? College fund. That's
There
what I
you
do.
go.
There you go.
It's $20,
long-term
about
planning.
20
That's
bucks a
good.
month. But hey,
That's
it's
good.
gonna add up.
it does.
That's right.
And
It's gonna
so
add up.
think
That's
outside
right.
the box.
That's good.
Get creative. Talk to somebody about it. Even if you just share what you're going through with somebody else, they might have some ideas for you that you might not have thought of.
Right.
There's no shame in the game.
That's right.
78% of us are going through the same struggle.
Right.
So the likelihood of you finding someone to talk to about it that's going through the same thing is highly likely, and to speak life into each other. So yeah, so prioritize, identify your wants and your needs, and think outside the box. This is my
That's
talk.
good.
That's good, man.
What you got, Larry?
So, man, I see a lot of people kind of like settled in where they're at. You know what I mean? And they're comfortable, but yet they're struggling.
Yeah.
Right. And I've kind of made it a point in my life to never settle. You know, until I achieve the things that I not only that I want, but that I can provide for the things that I need. And so, for me, man, it's having that hustle. And what I mean by that, and I mean it by every definition of the term, is hustling in order to like show yourself approved, man. Like put in the work, and you're gonna earn what you get. If you don't put in the work, you're not gonna get the things that you want. Right. And so if you're struggling with money and you're working at one job, maybe it's time to get that second job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it. You have wife and kids, but let's say they're struggling. You're struggling to put clothes on their back. You're struggling to put food on the plate. Man, you got to step up to the plate.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have that conversation, and maybe that's some teamwork between you and the wifey, or you and your girl, and whatever, right? And if your kids are old enough, they can contribute somehow, some way. But we got to hustle. We got to have that mindset, and I think that's. I heard a story Eric Thomas told about, he was studying up on 50 Cent, and 50 Cent talked about like, I don't sleep.
He was shooting a movie.
Yeah.
And when he wasn't shooting, he was working on the album. And they asked him, 50, when do you sleep? He's like, sleep. Sleep is for those people who are broke. I'm trying to get rich.
Right?
I'm hustling.
Yeah, it was that mindset of just working, and I think that's where we need to be at. So that'll be my first one. We got to hustle, y'all.
Yeah,
we got to put in the work. The second one is time management, man. Like we've been gifted with time. I know, depending on where we come from, and depending on what views we have, people feel like time's running out. Right. And I said, you know what? Also, we've been given is time, though.
Yeah.
And that none of us are so different that we don't get 24 hours in a day to take advantage of what we're doing. And look, and if you're doing things that are honorable, if you're doing things with integrity, and you're doing things right, you're not wasting your time. And so if I always hear a lot of people talk about, why do all the good people die? Or whatever.
Good die young.
Yeah, why all the good die young or whatever. It's like, if they're good and they've been putting in the work, they're gonna go to a good home, right? They put in the work. But time management, like, what are we doing with our time? Are we utilizing it to the best of our abilities to have an advantage, right, for ourselves, to give our family that advantage, to get over on the bills and to be in the green instead of being in the red? Like, what does that mean? Am I wasting too much time watching TV when I could actually be, I don't know, reading a book, getting that knowledge that I need, maybe whatever it is, right? And there's all kinds of examples we could get.
Those video games,
man. And there's nothing wrong with video games, but man,
there's a time and a place.
I know folks that spend hours and hours and hours, and then that accumulates to days and days, and then you've missed out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we really got to take advantage of time and use it wisely to our advantage. The third one I got for you guys, and this is one that for me is like really important, and one I've been stressing over the last year, because right now I'm in my final 2 classes of getting my master's degree.
Okay.
I'll have it after the summer. I'll have it in August.
All
and
right.
this is something it's not forsaking your education. Man, I feel like in America we have not valued education. And a lot of our young people have not valued education to where they go to school and they're kind of just going just to kick it. Right? You know, or they're going just to, I don't know, because that girl goes there, right? Or your boys are there or whatever. But even as adults, like we have forgotten like the what an education can do for us, the levels it can bring us, the position that it can give us, especially as leaders of man, if we want to have influence, right? The importance of what that gives us. And so not forsaking our education. And whether that looks like you getting a degree or whether you getting a certificate or you just taking a class so you have the knowledge of so you can be better at that. And so, you know what I mean? Because that can be the difference between earning $5 to $10 more per hour. Right, and we're just talking about on a small scale, right? So if you're working in a warehouse, you're just putting stuff away, you're making $15 an hour, but you get a certificate so you can do the forklift. All of a sudden, you're making $25 an hour.
Yeah. Big deal.
And you didn't have to go get your get your master's degree or whatever, right? But depending on what you want to do, who you want to be, and how you want to influence, you got to look at it just like B said. You got to look at it long term. Like, what is it? What are you investing in yourself now that's going to pay off in the future? And what we fail to do is see value in our education because we don't see the money in it right now. We want that fast stuff.
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah, man.
That's good stuff. And, you know, man, I feel like, you know, we're not sitting here preaching like we got it all together.
No.
Right? We're all in the same struggle, right? I mean, everybody could be one car accident, one major bill. We could all be there, right? Because it's just a crazy space. But I love what you guys said, man, about having the right priorities. And I mean, this is the barbershop, right? So honestly, we got to man up. Right. This is where men got to step forward and be the men that we're supposed to be. Be the fathers and the husbands. We gotta show what it means to sacrifice, and we gotta be willing to make those decisions, man. And I'm gonna say this. For me, here's been always my kind of guiding light. That I don't want to look back right now and see that I'm in the same place financially, emotionally, or spiritually now that I was 5 years ago. To me, I always say, where am I at now? And if I look back and I say, man, years are going by and I don't see some kind of forward movement, I got to check myself. And I got to have some boys around me that are like, hey, man, what are you doing? What's your life about right now? And I think we need it. I mean, that's what the barbershop's about. Iron sharpens iron. Right. So we trying to help you. We trying to support. We trying to encourage. But, man, we're in a struggle with you.
Yeah. So if you know, we always reach out. You know, we say, hey, if you guys have any feedback, comments, concerns, reach out to us. If this is you, because this is definitely us. You know, let's collaborate. You know, let's talk about some things that we can do to get better. There's workshops. There's things that are going on. Larry, there's something going on with you that we got coming out, right?
Yeah, so there's an event in city of Fremont at the Senior Center going on June 2nd where a bunch of us are getting together with some people from the public and some council members and all that stuff. And we're going to actually talk about this particular area of on the brink of homelessness so we can come up with ideas and how we can help solve the issue. But at the same time, that there's an awareness right now. It's not only the listeners right now. It's that there's so many people that are unaware of what it looks like and how we could all be on that verge of being that person.
Right. So there's plenty of online tools that we can utilize. Everything, it's all out there, guys. I mean, this is America. This is America. Childish Gambino reference. This is America. Hey. But resources are available online. Just take some time, look it up. Budget tools. There's people you can talk to, financial planners, and that's kind of step that we're in, just budgeting and making sure all of our money's being allocated correctly to the right places.
Yeah.
And
can I end it with this? And this is I know we also try to be sensitive to the people who are listening. It's like, a lot of us are here. We have this experience. This is lived experience, man. These are things that we've gone through all over all these years, and things that we've had to like really battle with as men, and trying to find and navigate a way through the system to try to get to where we are now. And so a lot of the advice that we've given you guys is through our own personal experiences.
Tried and tested.
And we're still in the direction of personal development, man. What are we investing in ourselves? And I think that's what it comes down to. If you find yourself lacking, if you find yourself not up to par, or if you find yourself not achieving the things that you guys want, you got to think about, am I really investing in myself? Am I really putting in the work? Am I really hustling? Am I really taking advantage of time? Do I really care, right, about my future and the importance of my money?
Yes, but
Right.
I mean, if you combine, B's like what, almost 70 years of experience,
Wow. That's
plus
73,
our experience,
73.
it's
Yeah,
close
so
to about
ours
what?
together about like 40.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like 100, 130,
Yeah.
140 years of experience. So I mean, that's right there.
that's disrespectful.
But
That's just
that's how we do at the barbershop, man. We know a little bit of hard time to each other, but no matter what the struggle is, we know that you got to have faith through it all, and,
Yes, sir.
and the
Yes,
Lord
sir.
will provide.
Yep.
And that's what keeps me saying at night every day. Keeps
Yep.
me going. So
And we want to hear from you. What's your tips? What's your nugget of wisdom?
yep.
Yep.
Sprinkle us with what you know. And again, we all walking the road together.
Yeah, we got some extra goodies that we're going to actually attach onto this podcast. And so we love y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Always.
This is Barbershop BA.
Episode 8.
We out.
Hi, my name's Audrey. I'm 19 years old. I'm a girl, and I used to live pretty crazy. My mom had passed away when I was 15 years old, and my stepdad kicked me out of the house to make space for 5 other kids to a new female. And I was on the verge of being homeless. I was couch surfing, hopping from friends' couches to being outside on a bench or in a park late at night. But now my current living situation has changed a lot. I live in a household with friends who I consider my family and my blood, and they have taken me in as their family, and they consider me as their daughter and their sister. And they do pretty much anything for me that they would do for their own kid, for their own child. They give me a place to stay. They give me a roof over my head and food on the plate every day for me to eat, and it's pretty good. Life is great now.
What are some of concerns or fears that you have on a daily basis?
I always think that sometimes, the parents might, or the dad especially, might kind of like treat me the same way that my dad had. Like if I mess up, then he'll be like, okay, just get out or get kicked out. Like I'll get kicked out, but he's not like that, and he's earned my trust to where he's not going to do something like that, because nobody would do that to their own child, to their own daughter, if they just mess up a couple times. He trusts me, and yeah, I trust him.
Okay. What do you need, or what is missing to make you feel safe and secure?
Right now, I feel like I just need my own apartment, but that'll come in time. Right now, I'm just relaxing, and all I need right now, to be honest, is like my dog with me, which I have him with me right now, because they let me bring my dog into the house, because they knew that he helped me a lot when I was going through it. And I just need people around me who care, and they all care, so they are what I need.
So people caring about you makes you feel.
Yeah.
What are the current services you have or participate in that are working for you now?
I go to therapy, which is what I'm at now. Work helps me a lot because it takes a big chunk out of my day, and it keeps my mind busy, and I meet a bunch of different people, and you just make a bunch of connections, and people always want to help you out the more humble you are. So that's like a big thing that has helped me, is because I'm so humble to people, and they just want to help me out, and I appreciate that. So that helps me a lot. And case management and helping with all of that. They've helped me get a job. They've helped me with my food stamps and my Medi-Cal when I didn't understand anything about the packages and filling them out. The case management really helped me a lot, and was like one of the best resources that I had.
What is the most important thing you want people to understand about your experience?
The most important thing to understand is that you can't hold grudges against people who are salty with themselves, so to speak, so then they'll take it out on you. Because I feel like everything happens for a reason, and now I'm at one of the best places that I could be in my life. And I never thought it would be like this, because I just thought nobody cared, and I just thought, like, nobody was ever going to take me under their wing or consider me like their child. But things happen and things change, and sometimes they change for the better, sometimes for the worse, but you never know. A couple years down the road, you'll realize that the worst thing that could have happened to you is probably the best thing that happened to you. But yeah.
If it wasn't for the people that took you in at that time, where do you think you could have turned to get housing?
I probably would have turned to some sort of like resource that they had, probably gone to like a shelter for a little bit, and then done one of those programs where like they help you find an apartment. I would like probably go to my case management and ask if there's anything I could do.
But you were a minor at that time.
Yeah.
So how would that affected?
I honestly probably would have just had to wait it out until I was 18, and that's what I did. I couldn't do anything when I was a minor, but that's what I have the case management for, is they kind of spoke for me when I was a minor. But yeah, I would probably just have to wait it out, keep doing what I'm doing until I was able to get my own little apartment or a studio or stay at a shelter somewhere.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would think that would be helpful for people to know about you or your experience?
Shit's crazy, but like it gets better. It really does. It really does. Like, you just have to learn to trust people, and people will trust you, and you have to be trustworthy in order for that to happen. So if you're just the best version of yourself that you can be, people are always going to want to help you out, because that's just the type of people that there are in this world. But there's also always going to be people that are going to screw you over, but you just got to learn to treat them like the irrelevant ones.